The one question I get asked most often is, how do I kill hordes? In my ultimate guide to horde killing, I'm going to teach you how to kill hordes, but more importantly, I'm also going to teach you where and when to kill hordes. This video will teach beginners and experts tactics that will work against them all. The Art of War by Sun Tzu teaches that to defeat one's enemy, one must first know their enemy. In Days Gone, knowing your enemy starts by understanding how the horde spawn locations and spawn times work. Most hordes will have 4 possible spawn locations and specific times that they may spawn at each location. Hordes have a place where they take shelter, like a cave or an abandoned structure, a place to drink water, such as lakes and rivers, Nero mass grave sites where they feed, and specific migratory paths that they may travel along to reach each of these points. Hordes take shelter during the day, roughly 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and then leave their shelter to hunt for food and water at night, roughly 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. These times are not exact and can also be affected by the horde's distance from their shelter. For example, a horde that feeds far away from their shelter will actually take more time in-game to walk home. Once you have reached a certain point in the story, the game will give you map markers for all of the remaining hordes, but while this is nice to have, it is not at all necessary. All of the clues you need to hunt hordes exist within the world. You can literally track them in the wild, just like a hunter would track wild game. See this nasty-looking cave with mud and blood everywhere? You probably just found a horde shelter site. Check the map closely, and you're likely to see mud and bloody footprints leading to or from a mass grave and leading to or from a lake or river nearby as well. The map will also help you hunt hordes by showing you a list of all objectives in the area, like ambush camps and infestation zones, and hordes. Check the list of objectives found in the lower left-hand corner of the map for the total number of official, non-main story mission hordes available in each region. Learning where a horde goes during the game's day and night cycle isn't just for the purpose of locating them. Time and location can also affect how you choose to engage the horde. We'll get into specific tactics later, but for now, notice how this horde is gathered up all nice and neat by that lake? Here's the same horde, but scattered all over the place while at their feeding site at this mass grave. Each individual horde can be encountered in locations that have advantages and disadvantages. Being aware of the time will allow you more control over when and where you choose to engage each horde. When attempting to clear the hordes from a region, there are other factors to be aware of as well. For example, there are 2 non-official hordes that can be found while exploring outside of missions: the Belknap Caves Ambush Camp and the Spruce Lake Ambush Camp. Each have a horde living nearby. These 2 hordes do not count toward the Horde Killer storyline, but they can be farmed for XP and bounties because they will respawn at the same location regularly. If you're having trouble finding a specific horde, keep in mind that all hordes are locked behind story progression in some way and will only start to spawn at the right moment as you progress through the story. There are only 7 hordes available in the earliest hours of the game, and in the description of this video, you'll find a link to a Reddit post that details exactly when every horde becomes available to hunt. Now, sometimes hordes will simply glitch out and not spawn when you would normally expect them to. There are several ways to deal with this. Double check the time and location. Check the Horde Killer storyline to see if you've already killed them. Yes, it happens. Check the horde spawn list, linked in the description of this video. And if you're certain that they should be there, you can try these troubleshooting steps. 1. Save and load your game. That's simple. 2. Traveling to a different map region will cause the game to load in the local assets. This alone can sometimes resolve issues with a horde not spawning properly. Take advantage of this by traveling to a safe spot in another map region. Save your game there and load your game right there. Then, after that, head back and check to see if the horde has spawned in. 3. This one will fix almost all glitches you encounter in Days Gone. Make a save game, then exit and close the game entirely. It is also recommended to restart your gaming machine on PC or PlayStation. Fire the game back up, and the horde you're hunting should be where they're supposed to be. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. The hordes in Days Gone are terrifying. If you're watching this video, then it is likely that you have experienced the white-knuckle, controller-crushing, edge-of-your-seat terror that happens in every single horde fight. That anxiety alone is the first challenge to overcome when one is facing the hordes of Days Gone. This next tip may seem a bit unconventional, but it works in pretty much any action-based video game. Let yourself die to the enemies on purpose. That's right. Walk up to a horde, jump right in the middle of them, and just see what happens. Make a save game first, of course. But once you decide you're ready to start taking on the hordes, let this happen several times until you're not as spooked by them anymore. This process will not only allow you to overcome the initial panic, but will also give you an opportunity to study your enemy up close with virtually no consequences other than sweaty palms and an elevated heart rate. Another pro tip for overcoming fear in video games in general is to use photo mode as a tactical camera. We'll discuss this in more detail in the tactics chapter of the video, but for now, approach the horde you want to study and pop into photo mode. Tab over to the lens options and max out the field of view. This gives you an elevated 360-degree view of the entire battlefield. As you are overcoming your fear of the hordes, don't hesitate to use this insanely powerful tool to give yourself a sense of distance while studying the horde from up close. Strategy over firepower. In Days Gone, tactics always matter more than firepower. With the right tactics, you don't need guns at all. When approaching combat in Days Gone, start by considering the available terrain. Wide open terrain with no cover or concealment is always bad, always. So the first thing you want to look for is cover or concealment. What's the difference? For this video, I'll define cover as something you can hide behind that is strong enough to prevent bullets from penetrating it. Concealment, on the other hand, is defined as something that allows you to interrupt the enemy's line of sight, but it will not stop bullets. Both cover and concealment are a huge part of planning how you want to approach virtually every combat encounter in Days Gone, especially against the hordes. Now that we've covered some vocabulary, let's start the conversation on strategy with concealment. The safest and easiest way to take out most hordes is without ever engaging them directly. If you can find a nice hiding spot in the bushes, you can use attractors to get the horde clustered up all nice and neat, and then use grenades to wipe them all out easily. They'll never even know you were there. Since hordes don't shoot back, you might think cover doesn't matter during horde fights, but anything that you can use for cover can also be used to slow down the front ranks of the horde and create choke points where enemies cluster up and bottleneck, hampering their efforts to overwhelm you and making them more vulnerable to attack. The next part of forming good strategies is to understand how the hordes move in combat. Deacon can climb up ledges and over low cover much faster than the Freakers can. Look for ledges you can climb to get some distance between the horde and yourself. Climbing onto the roof of vehicles and buildings can provide you a great firing angle as the freakers try to climb up to reach you. Low barriers that Deacon can vault over easily will often make freakers stumble and fall, giving you another great opportunity to open fire. Freakers also stumble on difficult terrain and can be slaughtered easily using things like the stadium bleachers found at this football field. Freakers also run slower than their usual speed through water, though it's worth noting that Deacon is also slowed down in water. If you can get ahead of them and catch them on the other side of a river or stream, you can open fire on them while they wade slowly through the water toward you. To take an even more detailed look at how hordes move on the battlefield, let's go back into photo mode. By entering photo mode and panning the camera around, you can see the battlefield from every angle. We can identify ledges for climbing and barriers for vaulting over. We can locate choke points like this narrow pass here, or this bridge that provides a choke point and a path to safety. We can even identify explosive barrels and trucks that will deal massive damage when detonated. This gives you all the time and all the information that you need to plan your attack and each move during your attack. You need guns? I got guns. Since we now have a basic understanding of how the hordes move and how to stay ahead of them, now is the right time to discuss firepower, which leads into one of the main reasons for killing hordes in the first place: unlocking some of the best guns in the game. Taking on the hordes will give you XP, bounties, and trust with local survivor camps, but it will also progress the Horde Killer storyline. By going to your storylines menu and tabbing over to progress, you can see how far you've advanced in any given storyline, but you can also see everything you have unlocked so far and exactly what is required to unlock the other items as well. This applies to all storylines, not just Horde Killer. You can see that progressing the Horde Killer storyline will unlock 4 different weapons and magazine upgrades for some of them as well. The SMP-9 and Auto Shotgun are 2 of my favorite guns in the game, and the IDF Pup is great too. The MG55 is the largest machine gun in the main game and can only be unlocked by killing 60% of all hordes. The more hordes you kill, the easier it gets, literally, because you unlock better and better guns as you do it. When discussing Deacon's firepower, we're not just talking about guns though. He has a large selection of explosives, distractors, and traps too. Most of these items can be picked up, ready to be used, at hidden loot locations all over the map. In the description of this video, I've linked my hidden loot locations video that shows every single one of these spots that I know of. Use these hidden loot locations to keep yourself stocked up at all times. When using Deacon's throwables in combat, be aware that some can be thrown farther than others. For example, this late-game souped-up Molotov can only be thrown this far, while a grenade can go much farther. To get the most range possible, keep in mind that elevation helps when using throwables. Try climbing up higher than your enemies before you start the encounter. Some throwables have other weaknesses too. Throwing some items into water can ruin them, even shallow water that's really just a puddle. Molotovs and attractors will be wasted if you throw them into water. Don't forget that Deacon has other utility items that are great for crowd control as well. A smoke bomb thrown into the mouth of a cave will slow down the front ranks of the horde and allow you to toss grenades or just open fire while they are staggered by the smoke. Regular Molotovs don't do much damage to a horde by themselves, but they are plentiful and make a great light source when they're thrown inside a cave. When using throwables, it is helpful to know that technique does matter, especially when using a controller. Deacon will sometimes stand up and get spotted when throwing the last item in a stack. You can minimize the chances of this happening by releasing the buttons as soon as the item has left Deacon's hand. Be aware that when you're close to a large horde, many of the freaks will be facing you so that they can easily spot you and will alert the rest of the horde to your presence through their hive mind connection. Keep your distance to avoid being spotted so easily. Bombs that can be placed where you want them are another option available as well. Two of these items, the proximity mine and the proximity bomb, can be placed on virtually any surface and will detonate as enemies approach. Remote bombs, on the other hand, can also be placed nearly anywhere, but can only be detonated with a button press. These allow for precisely timed detonations and will detonate in the order in which you have set them. These are best used to detonate other explosives like barrels and fuel trucks. Attractors and remote bombs can be used together with these to deal massive damage. Be aware that on the PC version, remote bombs do not function correctly and simply go off when enemies get near, like proximity mines and bombs. Make sure to test these items to see which ones work best for your playstyle or just to see which ones you enjoy most. Skills matter. Deacon's superiority in combat doesn't only come from guns and explosives. The skills that you pick as you level up make a difference as well. The skills in Days Gone are divided into 3 categories: survival, melee, and ranged. We'll look at survival and melee first, as both of these categories have skills for managing Deacon's stamina. Under the survival skills tab, take a look at Catch Your Breath and Carry That Weight. When Deacon's stamina is completely depleted, there is a cooldown period before his stamina will start to refill. Catch Your Breath will reduce the cooldown timer on your stamina and allow it to begin refilling much faster. Carry That Weight is important for horde battles because it allows you to carry more items and more crafting materials for making those items. The melee skill tree has important skills as well, notably Juice Up and Just Roll with it. Juice Up improves the benefit of stamina cocktails. Just Roll with it drastically reduces the stamina cost of rolling to avoid damage. The ranged skill tree contains 5 of the skills that I recommend getting to make horde fights less stressful. Those 5 skills are Focus Shot, On the Move, Iron Grip, Up the Ante, and 2 birds, 1 bullet. Focus Shot allows you to slow down time for more accurate shot placement. This is an incredible advantage when shooting into a mob of fast-moving enemies. Pro tip for Focus Shot: it doesn't only help with guns. You can use it to place thrown items more accurately as well. On the Move allows you to reload while sprinting, so you can get some distance while reloading your guns. Iron Grip reduces weapon recoil, which helps when firing automatic weapons, especially the big ones. Up the Ante doubles the reserve ammo capacity of all firearms that Deacon has unlocked. This one makes a huge difference when taking on hordes. The last skill I'd like to mention here is 2 birds, 1 bullet. I cannot overstate how important this skill is when you get ready to start taking on the hordes. Each bullet will pass through an enemy and possibly hit an enemy standing behind them. Some weapons in Days Gone already have a high penetration rating, and this skill makes them even more effective. Sustainable resources. In Days Gone, nothing is more terrifying than getting chased by a horde when you know you are low on resources. By using simple, effective tactics, and by using items that are easy to replace, you can kill hordes all day long if you want to. Maximizing the amount of ammo and gear you can carry in the field is step number 1. And we've already discussed skills that increase ammo and carry capacity, but there is another way to increase the amount of ammo that Deacon has access to while out in the shit. The drifter bike can be upgraded to have a set of saddlebags attached. These saddlebags carry enough ammo to refill all of your ranged weapons once per level of upgrade. Once depleted, the saddlebags can be refilled at any camp merchant, and you'll have plenty of credits with all the bounties you're turning in from killing all those hordes. Pro tip: you will eventually reach a point where refilling your saddlebags is the easiest and least expensive way to purchase ammunition in general. Take advantage of this feature to get the most out of your drifter bike. Some of Deacon's more easily replaced items are very effective against hordes. For example, a focus cocktail, which refills some of the focus meter and temporarily increases focus regeneration, can be crafted with some of the most commonly available crafting materials: 1 rag, 1 sterilizer, and 1 mushroom. There is even a skill under the survival tree called Green Thumb, which allows you to harvest 2 of every plant anytime you stop to pick one up, making these very powerful items even easier to replace. In addition to refilling the saddlebags on the drifter bike, camp merchants can also sell items that will help immensely. At higher camp trust levels, fragmentation grenades become available for purchase at some camps, and these are invaluable against hordes. I would like it better if you could buy them by the dozen. That's enough about fragmentation grenades for now, as they speak for themselves rather loudly. Another item sold by camp merchants that is often overlooked is the flashbang grenade. Many people will disregard the flashbangs since they do not deal any damage. However, they are an incredibly powerful crowd control tool. Much like smoke bombs, a flashbang will stun the front ranks of the horde, but unlike the smoke bombs, a flashbang also makes noise, which will draw other freakers into that exact location, similar to an attractor. Flashbangs are not quite as effective as an actual attractor, but they will do the job of both, and flashbangs can be purchased easily for just a few credits each. Do not underestimate the effectiveness of these easily replaced items. Nero Injectors add up.
Yes.
There is one other factor to consider when seeking ways to prepare for horde fights: Nero Injectors.
Hello.
We've discussed how important stamina and focus are when facing hordes, and these stats can be increased by tracking down and using the Nero Injectors in the game. These can be used to increase Deacon's health, stamina, and focus. So make sure you put a few into stamina and focus before taking on the bigger hordes. Having more stamina will help you stay ahead of the horde, and having more focus will increase the duration of time that you can slow down time with focus shot. Health is important, but slightly less so since ideally you'd rather just not get hit. Miscellaneous expert tips. Before every horde fight, you should place the drifter bike strategically, meaning leave it in a location and in a position where you can get to it quickly and easily. This will allow you to access the saddlebags to refill your ammo, and you can also hop on to run away bravely when necessary. Since you can use the bike to escape from a horde if necessary, it is important to note that you can come back and finish a horde off later if you are unable to get them all in one go. That's right, you can clear as many freakers as you are able, return to camp to purchase more ammo, grenades, and flashbangs, and then head right back out to finish clearing the horde. They won't wait forever and will eventually return to their full strength of numbers, so do make it a priority to get back there and finish the job. We've discussed several ways to manage Deacon's stamina, but the simplest way is to never fully deplete all of your stamina. When the stamina meter is fully depleted, it triggers a cooldown period, and you must wait before taking any actions that require stamina, like sprinting or rolling. If you keep an eye on the stamina meter and stop sprinting right before it drains fully, it will begin to refill significantly faster than if you had triggered the cooldown period. One of the most effective tactics in Days Gone is to use enemies against each other. The world of Days Gone allows many opportunities to benefit by sneaking in and turning enemies against each other, and the Hordes are no different. By using the Hordes creatively, you can even clear entire ambush camps without killing any of the enemies yourself. Just kick the hornet's nest and enjoy the show. You now have all of the knowledge that you'll need to dominate every Horde in the game with superior tactics, superior firepower, and a complete lack of fear. Don't take any shit off those freaks. Get out there and kick some ass.